Super Bowl 11. We got to go approach that game like it's the last game of our lives.
I feel like they've got something to prove.
I think BYU, at bare minimum this year, is going to have 10 wins.
The hope is that they can get to the Big 12 title game and have a chance to get to the playoff. That's what's at stake tomorrow between BYU and Arizona State. Welcome back to BYU Sports Nation. I am Jerome Jordan in Studio B. He is Spencer Linton in Studio Tempe. I guess that rhymes. Let's bring in our favorite former Arizona State quarterback, the winningest quarterback in BYU history, Maximus Hall, ahead of Gladiator 2 on the program. Max, what up, dog? How you doing, man?
I'm doing great now that I'm on the show with you guys. It's been a while.
It has been a while. We waited until BYU lost for some reason. I don't know why. No, it's BYU and Arizona State. Tell us about what this game means to people in the Valley since you live there now and you're from there. Given the history back in the day, obviously in like the 60s in the WAC, and of course they played in the late 90s. They played in 21 in Provo. This is in theory a return game. Now they're in the same leagues. And now they're both ranked and there's Big 12 title implications. Come on, man. This is huge.
Absolutely. This is big time. So, I mean, a lot of people around here, including myself, grew up huge ASU fans. You know, I have family ties to ASU. I went to ASU out of high school before transferring to BYU. There's a lot of, obviously, LDS people down here who kind of root for both teams, right? But the more people I talk to, the more blue I think is going to be in the stadium tomorrow. So I'm excited for it. But it's a big deal, man. And I think, you know, for both teams to be as relevant as they are right now in the season and as good as they are, to meet here and to play, I think it's going to be a fantastic game. I think it's going to be a great crowd. And, you know, just kind of like in that video, this game has a lot of implications for BYU and what's going to happen to them going forward, and especially in the postseason. So I'm looking forward to it, man. You know, it's kind of, I don't know if you guys know this, but I think BYU, we were supposed to play ASU my senior year. And something happened and it didn't work out. So we ended up playing Oklahoma that year, first game. So I was excited to come back to ASU Stadium and play. And I don't get to play, but I'm excited to be there tomorrow.
Max, for the first time this season, BYU is now trying to respond after a loss, and a very frustrating home loss to Kansas. You didn't have to deal with this very often because you won so much, but in the few instances that you were trying to bounce back after a loss, what worked well for you in those circumstances, and how would you then translate or give that advice to this BYU team?
In my opinion, the best thing that happens after a loss is the increase of a sense of urgency. Going into the game planning, into the next week's practice, there's more attention to detail, there's more energy. It's almost kind of a reset. And I think that, I mean, that happened to me when I played. We'd have a midseason loss, and we always kind of refocused and recommitted to what we were doing. So it can be a good thing. Obviously, we don't want to lose, and with BYU ranked what they were and losing that game last week, it hurt. But if they take the positives out of this thing and look at it like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to check ourselves a little bit, fix the things that we need to, and have a higher sense of urgency going into the next game. So if anything, it can do that to a team. And I would expect to see that from BYU tomorrow. I think they need to come out hungry, with a lot of energy and excitement, and kind of eager to put that win from last week behind us and get a quality win over ASU. So I expect BYU to execute. I expect them to manage the game better. I expect them to get stops and turnovers on defense and play BYU football like we've seen all year long.
It's a fun quarterback matchup. Jake Retzloff for BYU, BYU as he calls himself. Sam Levitt, who doesn't really turn the ball over. He runs effectively, only thrown 4 interceptions. A guy whose dad and brother played at BYU, so some ties there. What do you make of this quarterback matchup?
I love it. I mean, I love it when you have two
but you don't
quarterbacks
Levitt,
like this.
Right? You don't Levitt. It's a bad pun.
Say Levitt? I mean, love it. Okay, yeah. I love it. Yeah, sorry. Why are you giving me? Oh, geez. Come on, Jaron. I'm coming for you, baby. No, I think when you have two quarterbacks like this, you know, going head to head in a game that means a lot for what's going to happen in the postseason at the end of the year, with the type of environment that it's going to be in, you know, my hope is that both quarterbacks will show up and shine in this game. And hopefully it's a high-scoring game for us, and the offense can produce and kind of bounce back from what we've seen the last couple of weeks. And so I'm excited to watch both of them play.
Max, I'm looking at the turnover margin and how influential it has been in BYU's games that they have won, which have been many. They're 9-1. And then obviously losing the turnover margin last week to Kansas, which ultimately results in a loss. BYU lost the turnover margin against Oklahoma State and needed a miraculous finish to overcome that. So how much weight do you put into BYU on the road and the turnover margin tomorrow in the game between the Cougars and Sun Devils?
I think it's big, because if you look back at some of the key wins that BYU had this year, in those games, there were times where the offense sputtered a little bit, struggled. And if you go back, it was big plays by the defense. It was interceptions, fumble recoveries, turnovers that turned things around. It got the momentum going in our direction, and it seemed that the offense kind of flourished after that. So I think that's big for that. Like I said before, that the BYU defense cause havoc, get turnovers, and put the offense in good situations to score, because I believe that once the offense gets going in these games, it's kind of, they get rolling and there's no stopping them. But sometimes it takes them a little bit to get going. So the defense definitely can help with that. And like I said, in key wins this year, the defense has stepped up and had crucial turnovers to put our offense in situations to score. So I think it's crucial. I think they have to come out and figure out a way how to get the ball back and get it to the offense.
That's a great point, because the last 2.5 games, BYU's really struggled on offense. 3 touchdowns the last 25 drives, only 3 touchdowns in the last 13 red zone opportunities. This offense was awesome for a minute there, Max, where they were scoring between 34 and 41 a game, season low 13 last week. How does this BYU offense sort of jumpstart itself? You mentioned, hey, defense, special teams can help you, but how does the offense itself get that going?
Well, I know with the team I coach right now, we had a kind of a mid-season loss that we felt like we shouldn't have lost, but you know, kudos to the other team. They showed up and played well. We lost by a game-winning field goal at the end of the game. And for us, we were able to see some of the things that we weren't executing on offense. And for us, it was the same thing. We weren't scoring touchdowns in the red zone, and we weren't converting on crucial 3rd and 4th downs. So when hopefully BYU had a time to reflect this past week and say, hey, these are the points of emphasis that we need going into this game. And that's touchdowns in the red zone, it's scoring after turnovers, and it's taking care of the football and eating up clocks so our defense not on the field all the time. And I think when you refocus on those things and you put the team in situations like that in practice, and you practice it and put emphasis on it, it seems to show up in the game. And so I know for a fact that's what the BYU coaching staff has done to fix those things and hopefully be more efficient with it tomorrow night.
Max, there is a path for BYU to clinch a spot in the Big 12 championship game tomorrow. It obviously requires a win against Arizona State, and then it would require Utah beating Iowa State. So how do you handle that scenario, specifically the second part, emotionally, when a Utah win actually helps BYU?
I might have to change my pick for that game. I didn't know that, Spencer. So here's the thing. You know, bless Utah. I know it's been rough over there a little bit the last couple of weeks, but I kind of like picking Utah now, because I'll take a Utah win if it helps the Cougars. You know what I'm saying? So I guess I'm going to change my pick. I want Utah to win that game because BYU deserves to be in that championship game.
What a world we live in.
That makes it even better.
Right?
That actually makes it even better if Utah wins to put us into the Big 12 championship. So
they're
now
like, we helped those guys.
A little bit of a Utah fan this weekend.
And then if Utah loses, we can say, hey, this was stolen from us. Yeah, Max, much more coming up with you in the next segment as we do some Big 12 pick'ems. So stay with us for a little bit more. More with Max in a moment.